Hello, everyone. Welcome to SpyHards Podcast. I'm Agent Scott, and boy, oh boy, have I got a treat for you today. It's not often on the show I get to share the airwaves with someone who I feel is a bit of a kindred spirit, someone who is a like-minded soul, and also happens to be a BAFTA winner. He is the man behind shows like Famalam and the BBC comedy Black Ops, which we're going to be talking about. It's the one and only Akemnji Ndifornyen. Hello, sir. How are you?
Hello, Agent Scott. I'm very well, thank you. Very well. I'm very happy to be on the pod. I'm a big fan of what you guys do. And yeah, man, let's get cracking.
Hey, let's do this. We've got a lot to talk about. I mean, you're a self-professed Uber Bond fan.
Proper, like ridiculous. I geek out on certain things. Like there's things that I like in life, and like when I catch them, I kind of just get really anal about them, for lack of a better word, which someone is probably going to clip one day. They're going to clip that phrase and make a mashup of me doing something silly. But no, I get really anal about it. Like for instance, Bond is one of those. Eddie Murphy's another one. Michael Jackson, Godfather films, Dr. Dre's music. There's things like that. But like the Bond stuff, I could talk about like all day long, all week long if I wanted to. Such a big fan. And that kind of is, connected to my childhood. Sitting down with my dad at like, I don't know, the age of 0 and just watching Bond films.
Well, I think I want to take us on a little bit of a journey into your career in this discussion, but I suspect a lot of it begins in your childhood because the first question I always like to ask is why do people get into this business of show? Why did you want to get into the creative arts? Why did you take that step?
Because I was talking to my friend Viv just now, Viv, who was in Famalam, and we are having a conversation about just being an actor and things like that. And just this conversation of we wouldn't be doing anything else. Like, if you had the option, would you be doing something else? And I was like, no, I wouldn't. So the business of show to me came very early. So my dad was a bit of a showman. Him and my mum owned pubs in Hackney. So there's a certain level of showmanship attached to that. But he was also a big person within the West African Cameroonian community and the
Hmm.
community in Hackney. So people knew him. It's very kind of he's a character. But at home, I liked, and this is the story that is common with a lot of people who get into this business. They're like, they were performing, and I was a really good mimic, and I still am. Like, if I meet someone, I can do their voice, I can get the intonations and all that. And I think one of those origin story bits with me is like there was this reenactment show. Like someone had broken into a house. It was a no, they hadn't broken into a house. Sorry, it was a workman was doing some. He was a plumber or something in a house, and there was a
Hmm.
secret camera. And I think he had decided to defile the sink that he was fixing, like with some urine, and it was caught on camera. And I remember like watching it and then going to amongst my family, like reenacting the thing and the gestures and all that without the actual fluid element of it. But no, so it was
I'm
that.
glad.
Yeah, and then so my parents were like, oh, this kid's interesting. But I also love the English language. I, as a kid, also loved uh, just performance, and I loved, from the age of like whatever, I was watching Eddie Murphy films. I also love Michael Jackson. So just the idea of like, how do I get into that? How do I get into that? I also
Hmm.
like building things as well. So I like putting together things like whether it's IKEA, or I used to play with Meccano a lot, or I used to throw away the chocolate from Kinder Surprise and just try and build the toy. So I like building things. I love Blue Peter as a kid. So I love when they made Tracy Island. I tried to make my own, with my PVA glue and the yogurt pots, all that type of stuff. So I like building, and that's kind of where the storytelling and the performance aspect comes from. So it's a mixture of things, but I don't know a time where I wasn't performing or being showy some way.
Sure. I was going to go to the next question, but you've prompted something in my head, as I was also an owner of Tracy Island.
Ah, the real one.
I have the real one because I had my tonsils taken out when it was in the shops, and my grandparents thought, "Oh, bless him."
Because I'm gonna just bring out this.
mate, don't even, mate.
Hey, I haven't seen that in years. I haven't seen that thing in years.
Hey.
I haven't seen that in years.
For those listening in the audio version of this, we've just pulled out Thunderbirds toys from both of our shelves.
All right, I'm gonna best you. Well, I probably won't best you because you're probably gonna
Wow.
trumps me. But I've got just something. But this, see this, yeah, it's dusty as hell. This is actually from Eon because I had a
Mm-hmm.
friend that worked there during Quantum of Solace. So she
Okay.
was like, so Michael G. Wilson was like, hey, whatever you want from the shelf, just take it. Sure, take it. And so got one of these, and he had some books. So yeah. Anyway, they can't see on the thing, but I had to do that now. Sorry, that's
It's
just
all right.
my.
There's a video version of this coming out as well. People can
Okay,
see it in
cool, fine,
public.
fine,
But
fine,
or,
all
or
good.
they just heard a really good Michael G. Wilson impression. Either way,
Oh, cool. That is it. That's a good Michael G. Wilson impression. Yeah. Okay, we'll slime him. We'll slime him. So yeah,
we may come back to this. I think that's a quite handy resource to have.
yeah.
You did
Cool
say you were
stuff.
good at impressions.
I'm pretty decent. I'm pretty decent.
Okay. So the Thunderbirds question, although I think you may have answered it by pulling out two, which is, I think, the best looking back. Um,
Yeah.
what was your Thunderbird? Who was your Thunderbird, and what was your favorite of the ships?
Uh, I liked five. I liked
He's up
five
in
because it was in
space.
space. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like five because it was in space. I forget the names. I know it's Alan, uh,
Scott,
Scott. Who else was there?
I forget. Sorry,
Yeah.
Thunderbirds fans. I know you listen to this
Sorry,
show. I'm sorry.
sorry, my Jerry Anderson diehards, but I've forgotten all the names. But yeah, I loved Thunderbirds so much, man. Parker and Penelope and that pink that pink mobile. Yeah, I had quite a few of the toys, but I didn't have Tracy Allen, so
Mm,
you
it's
got.
okay. If I still had it, I'd give it to you. But I imagine that's in a landfill somewhere. Uh, well, you mentioned sort of synergizing all those things as a kid a little bit. You're performing, but you had your hands in other pots, music and things like that. And I think that has translated a lot to your professional life because the word savant came up in my notes when I was making this. In terms of definition, I'd say you are one because you're a producer, a composer, a screenwriter, an actor. I think that's the four main ones. I'm sure you could name me some other things that you do. Yeah, how did you get to the point where you think you wanted to do all those things, or have you just found yourself doing these roles?
Um, just by like the journey into kind of doing it for a living was acting first. So acting from properly from about 10, 11. I went to a drama club on Saturdays,
Hmm.
drama school on Saturdays called Pollyanna Children's Theatre, run by a lady called Angie Kindell. And they are like family to this day. I love Angie so much. I text her every other week to say, thank you so much for Saturdays, Angie, because it was this magical place. So I'm not going to sing the Toys R Us theme because it sounds like I'm saying it's a magical place.
It's in
No,
everyone's heads now, though. That's
it
the
is,
thing.
yeah. No, but it was a magical place on Saturdays where I used to go in Wapping, my
Mhm.
little lunch back box of like sandwiches or whatever, and we'd go and it'd be like different age groups. So you'd have the kids, which was like, I don't know, like 8 up until 12, and then you had the teen group who were just a lot cooler than us. But I remember going in as like a chubby 10-year-old on a Saturday to this place, and you did dance, you did improvisation, you did there was music, and there was reading. We used to do plays, but we also used to do like lambda. So we used to like learn a poem for lambda and go do exams, and it was the most fun I ever had. I was an estate kid as well. We lived on an estate, so there was times that I'd be just riding my bike around playing football, but that was boring. I mean, that got boring up to a point, and I think I did a play in year 4, year 5, and the teacher who directed it said to my parents, "Oh, you've you've got to put him in a drama school or something." And I'd played a box in the nativity, so she might have just been lying. I'd play like a box, but anyway, so we'd go to Pollyanna every Saturday, and it was just the most amazing, most fun I've ever had in my life. So much fun because there was a social aspect, young people, but then there was this thing of being getting to be creative. So there was that element. which is one of the things. And we do plays every term. So we do a Bugsy Malone, or we do Peter Pan, or we do a pantomime. Angie always wrote a pantomime. And so sometimes I would play Widow Twanky in like a Dick Whittington, or I play like an ugly sister, or I'd play the Cowardly Lion in like a version of Wizard of Oz. So it was like incredible. And we'd also do like loads of singing. So we had a choir, so we'd go and sing at like Great Ormond Street, hospital, and it was just magic. I thought I was in Fame. It was just incredible. And they also had a agency who would put people for work. And I'd do like little commercials. I was the voice of the official London sightseeing tour, those buses that go around.
Yeah.
Like a kids commentary thing. So I was the voice of that for years before my voice dropped. And I'd do like bits on EastEnders as a kid. So there was that whole world bubbling, and it was bubbling well into like secondary school. At the same time, like from the age of about 9, 10, I was learning to play the guitar. I was really getting into just like, I had a guitar teacher called Robert Hayes. And I'd go to him every Wednesday and like learn to play the guitar and learn scales and all this type of stuff. And I could just about play the guitar. But yeah, and so that just really got me into the idea of like, oh, you could write songs. He had a 4-track recorder, which would record a rhythm track, record a bass track, record a lead track, and vocals. So that taught me about like, oh, this is how it was, a rudimentary way of like how songs were made. And I've got some of those like 9-year-old prepubescent demos somewhere of me writing songs.
It's how the Beatles did it.
That's how they did it. They invented 4-track, but let's a whole separate conversation. And George Martin as well. But no, so then there was that, and then I would write songs and remember singing them in my primary school assembly. So I was always active in that way, and that's the music component of what I did. And then having a career in front of the camera, because when I was 15, I did this film called Out of Control, which had Tamsin Outhwaite in it. It was about these 3 boys that go to Young Offenders Institute, and it was like an amazing film. It was like this award-winning seminal film of its time. Came out in 2002. We went to the Edinburgh Film Festival. We won the festival, like Best British Feature. Then it won a BAFTA. It was like this amazing time, being like 15 and working and doing stuff and being with like other like-minded people. So that was like my first big professional gig. And then and yeah, so my life has always been an amalgamation of all the creative things I like. And I was good at writing. I like words. I was really good in school, like really good. But I knew that I wanted to be in that TV or on that stage in some capacity.
Well, it sounds like we're drifting towards the professional career in terms of acting now, because you're getting some gigs, and I think the road that leads us into Black Ops is Famalam.
It is. So that's a nicely written segue. I mean, the way you just like live done that in like real time is beautiful. Because that was like, I'd never written anything before, and I'd never produced anything before, before having worked on a show called The Javon Prince Show, which was produced by Phil Bowker and starred and was produced and written by the eponymous Javon Prince, one of the nation's treasures. Javon was like, look, we're doing a show. Do you want to be involved? And I auditioned. But Javon's a mate, so it was kind of like a foregone conclusion that I'd be in it, and it was really cool. So I did that, did the pilot, and then I want to say maybe a month or 2 had passed, and Javon was like, "Oh, the producer Phil wants to speak to you." So anyway, Phil called me and he was like, "Have you written anything before?" And I was like, "No, not really." He's like, "You should come and be in the writing room." And so for 6 weeks, I was involved in the writing room. Myself and Samson KO, who's like a mega star now. He was in Famalam, but he's also in F1, and he's in Voltron, and he's in all these amazing things. we were in that writing room with John McQueen and Bolu Babalola, who's an amazing novelist and screenwriter herself. And we just learned a lot from Phil and got to sit around and goof around and come up with ideas. And Phil is just like a great harvester of talent and motivator of talent. And that was 6 weeks of doing that. And then at the end of it, Phil said, you need to meet some people at the BBC who are doing kind of, who can help do stuff for you, or you should be working with people because I think I like the way you think. So he introduced me to the outgoing comedy controller, Shane Allen, and then Shane then introduced me to Chris Sussman. And anyway, this is a long-winded way of saying at some point they were like, what do you want to do? And look, we're thinking of doing a sketch show. How would you want to be involved in it? And I said, oh, I'll produce it. And I've never produced anything before. But having had, and this is some producers will be like, this is a nasty correlation. How dare you make this? But having ran a pub for my parents for years and, dealing with, a limited budget or dealing with difficult customers or problems, you're constantly problem solving if you run a pub. And like, so having done that for like 5 years, I really didn't, nothing fazed me. You see, nothing fazed me because if you have 150 people in a venue, and you've got a gig, a band, Franz Ferdinand is playing in your back room, which would really happen. And then someone says the toilet's broken down, and then someone says, oh, 3 of your staff have dropped out, and it's you, your dad, and your best worker, Declan, working, trying to serve 150 people. You can do anything in this world. So I was like, yeah, sure, I'll produce that. And then and I kind of knew who I wanted to be in it because I'd worked with Bemi before on Sunny D, Dame Baptiste Sunny D. We played cousins, and I thought we were a lot closer than we actually were because I rang Bemi up and she was one of the first people I rang, and I was like, oh, Bemi, look, you haven't got the part yet, but I'm doing this thing and I'd love to come in and you do a workshop and and all this type of stuff. And she was doing a play. So I think she was like just about to go on and she's like, who is this? And I was like, I thought we were, so in my head, I was like, I thought we were cool. I'd be like, yeah, my mate Bemi, my friend Bemi, and She didn't really know who the hell I was. Anyway, so Bemi was involved in it, and I knew Viv, knew Samson. It was kind of like Samson was going to be in it, and then we had Tom Mucci as well, who I met from. I was introduced to him by John McQueen, who was on Jab's show, and then Roxy Sternberg and John McMillan. John McMillan I knew from like years back, and then that team was kind of put together, and then it was kind of like we did 3 series of that, and it was really good. And then and I won a BAFTA for series 1, and it was really good. And that was that was an amalgamation of all the different creative things I did, because in addition to producing it, I was helping write the show, and I was acting in the show. I was doing music on the show when required. As evidenced by series 3, we've got the Trilogram Birthday Girl song, which is available on all DSPs. You can play that now. Got to plug that. That's my pension. And so that was a great amalgamation of all the things that I love doing. And it was a dream. Like, so we did that for like 3 years, and that was a dream because it was literally, you get into act, you get into write, you get into produce, and you get into make music. Okay. It's just heaven.
Well, forgive me if I'm misconstruing the point, but it seems to me like you could take that as, oh my God, you're wearing 4 hats on a show. That's a lot of hats. It's quite heavy. But for you, it seems that was more like freedom in a way. You were able to create.
It's the most freedom and it's the most fun. Like actors, I can never see myself as being just an actor, even when I was just acting, because I've got a huge ego, and I don't think directors like me very much, if I'm really honest. I don't think they do. but I always have like I always have my version of how I like, whether it's a sect to be or like how, I don't know, like I just I can't be led.
Mhm.
I don't like being led. I don't like waiting around. So an actor's job most of the time is to wait around for some idiot director to be like, um, oh yeah, I like you or I don't. Like, and I'm just like, I could do your job better than you. Shut up. Can't tell me whether I should be in your show or not. Fuck you, pardon my language. But that's my core, and that arrogance actually, and
Mhm.
that is forces me, and that um that resistance to wait is kind of how all the other stuff was born. So
Mhm.
it was such a beautiful space to be in, to be like, oh, cool. I this is my ship. This is a ship, or a ship that I've helped built at least. And I don't have to be the best on every component of the ship, but I want the ship to sell right. So where I'm needed,
Mhm.
I'm gonna jump in and I'm gonna do what I need. So, oh, we can't clear that Kanye West song because his publisher wants 100 grand for 20 seconds. I'll make it. I'll make it myself. I'll go do a version of that. Oh, one of the actors is fatigued for the day and they can't do this scene. All right, cool. I'll jump in and do that. Like there's a scene in series one, and I remember Samson, he won't mind me telling this story. But he had been throwing up all the way to set. He'd been quite ill. I think he caught a stomach bug and he'd eaten some bad.
Happens.
Yeah, I think he'd had some bad takeaway from somewhere in Peckham.
Mm.
And and so he was worse for wear. And then he looked at me because he'd done his thing. An amazing day's work in spite of that. Despite us saying like go home, he was like, no, I'm gonna do this. Anyway, there was a scene that we needed to do at the end of the day, and he looked at me like, can you do me a solid? And I was like, I'll jump in. I wasn't even scheduled to be in that. And then I put the costume on and did the scene, So it's stuff like that. And it's just jumping in where I can. And it's like, and why wouldn't you? So I
Mhm.
worked basically 24 hours for that show because it's like, this is my show.
Yep.
This is my show. And then what that has then imbued in me is this sense of like, and again, like I said, directors, maybe casting directors as well, maybe people don't, especially in this country, don't enjoy like someone with a level of autonomy and this that uh I'm just too old to be led or to beg. You see what I'm saying? So it's like I'd rather just come up with the thing myself or do my own thing. So maybe my agents must hate it, this
Mm.
idea, but it's just like don't ask me to come in and beg for a job because don't do that. Just don't ask me to come in and beg for a job. Um, uh, that's just yeah. It's
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah. No, no. I mean, you used the word resistance before. I would take it more as resilience.
yeah.
Resilience to, being sort of pinned down to one thing, you put into one bracket. You're manifesting your own destiny by creating.
Yeah, and look, there's a different it's like different people have every path in this business is different.
Hmm.
It's different for everyone, but for me, my one is super unique. So sometimes people come to me for advice rather, and they say, "What should I do? How can I?" And I'm like, nowadays I just say, "I can't tell you what to do because if you try and do this, it might not work for you. So
Hmm.
don't." Mine is just mine, and it's through learning a lot of failing, a lot of like trying things, it not working, and trying one path and being like, I did this show years ago, and one of the stars in it is one of the stars of the show is me and him. We play best friends in the show. One of them's like and this acts like a massive in one of the biggest films of this year. And
Sure.
I have basically in that intervening time have had a great career, but I've had to go do 10 other things because for
Yep.
him it was like, oh, he can go off and do that because the industry is sort of designed for him to do that. For me, it was like I've got to do 20 different things and try. I've got to run a pub. I've got to be in a play somewhere. I've got to go do this. I've got to go do that. So every person's path is different, but I wouldn't change my path at all,
No.
in any manner. Like it. So I don't know. I went on a waffle. You had a question up
No,
about
I think I had a question about 5 minutes ago, but we were just talking since then, so it's fine.
yeah.
Um, and I think, looking at what you did with Famalam and obviously the accolades it got, and you did it for 3 seasons, ending in about 2020.
Mm.
We're getting towards Black Ops now
Yeah.
in the story.
Well, Black Ops Genesis starts in Famalam because one, you
Hmm.
have Demi, but
Yep.
then you also have the fact that it was the first week and we had a lunch break and the execs came down, Ben Cordell and Chris Sussman, and we were just having a chat. And I just said, we need a show for Bemi. She's brilliant.
Hmm.
Like, Bemi was the first person cast in the show. And I think she's one of this country's finest. She's like one of our finest exports. She just is. And I'm like, when I, it's not when I like people because I can not like someone and see that they're brilliant, but I genuinely like Bemi. Um, and I was like, I think you're brilliant, and I want you to win at the level that you should. And so I was like, we need a show for Bemi, and then so we all got in a room. Bemi pitched this idea of these two undercover cops, and we kind of went from there. So that was actually 2018 that conversation started.
Okay.
Then it was during COVID, just before COVID actually. Um, Josh Cole became the head of comedy at BBC Studios, and he was like, "Oh my god, like what's this? This is a great opportunity. It's Black Ops. Oh my god!" And then we got the ball rolling, and then we shot a pilot. So we wrote the pilot episode, and we shot a pilot kind of in COVID, like top of 2021, that I directed, and then that got commissioned, and then they got commissioned for 6 episodes, and then we made series one, and it's been a mad journey. It's been a mad journey. So we're now in 2025, going on 2026. And that's like 7 years that conversation started. So it's insane,
It
really.
just goes to show how long these things take to gestate.
Yeah. And there's so many that don't make it. There's
Hmm.
so many. And I think I was spoiled in that earlier part of my production and creating career that I was like, oh, everything's gonna go. I've experienced it of late where like you'll work on something for a year and they're like,
Hmm.
this script's amazing. This is gonna go. And then some channel because someone doesn't like the cut of your jib, or they're just like, no, there's no space for it. They'll be like, "Ah, sorry, man." And then you just have to shake hands and see them in Soho as if they haven't just taken a whole year of your time. But that's just how the business goes. So
Hmm.
when people get things made and get things away, it is like it's it's so funny because there are so many like YouTube channels that spend time like hooing on things that get made, and I get that. That's the whole. It's a hustle.
Hmm.
I'm not going to say any names because I don't want to give them any more attention. But yeah, that's what they do. They critique and all that type of stuff, not knowing that like there is so much that goes into just getting
Hmm.
something over the line. So when you do, you pour out a glass of champagne, celebrate because it's hard making things in this
Hmm.
business, particularly post COVID and all that type of stuff. So um to what you said, the process is arduous and it's long and when you do get something away, it's a feat of it's just it's a feat of excellence of just getting it made because of how competitive it is and also how hard it is. And then you've got to go make the thing, and there's a whole process in that because you've got, particularly the bigger you get with Famalam, we were just kind of left alone to kind of do what we wanted, which is rare, which is really rare. It's really nice. We didn't really get loads of notes about what to do, what not to do. We just got to make what we wanted. But when you're doing a show, and like with Black Ops, to be absolutely fair, like our commissioners and execs are like the best, like
Hmm.
so supportive. It's an amazing supportive process, but you just have more people involved and more people
Yep.
to say. And so there's more hands and more kind of people wanting to kind of get their point across. And then if you think about a blockbuster, that the orders of magnitude that goes up are incredible. Like
Hmm.
there's so many more people, investors, and then you're thinking about, can we do this for China? We've got to make a different poster for China. Stop Force Awakens.
Just remove someone.
Yeah, we just
Okay,
remove
yeah.
someone, you know what I mean? Because you know that you want to get the box office in China, and China has a certain, so there's all these different things that the public doesn't necessarily see. And so getting things made is big up to anyone that is getting something made and getting something across the line, because it's not easy.
It was really eye-opening for me years ago when doing this show. Speaking of creative ventures that I poured myself into, this is my thing with Cam.
Mm.
Um, we interviewed the guy who made the Avengers 1996, 98 film. That's
Oh, with
Uma Thurman, Ray Fiennes.
and Ray Fiennes, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
John
Hi-
Steed and
that's right. Historically, a terrible film. Like everyone deems it to be pretty dreadful. And
yeah,
then we did the interview, and you find out that it's because people behind the scenes just got involved and ruined
yeah,
everything about the film. But the
yeah,
people who made the film, they spent years crafting that film,
yeah.
wanting it to be a good Avengers film.
100%. No one goes into making a thing to be like, do you know what? I want to make the worst thing possible.
Uh-huh.
The road to a bad review is paved with good intentions.
Hmm.
It really is. And so getting something, you understand how like many things you have to get right to one, get the thing made, to then get it out, and then for it to be good or received well. And I get it. The internet is this wonderful place because it democratizes chat. It costs you nothing, so everyone can get on. Phones don't cost anything, so you don't need a fancy camera, and you can get on and build a career from just being like, well, I think this is rubbish. Um, you know, you can do that all day long and make
Hmm.
a career, but it's usually people who do that who didn't make it, if you see what I'm saying.
Or conversely, and I'm sure I'll make a few enemies with this, people who have nothing to say.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Like I'm not. If I just go on and slam the latest Avengers film or whatever. Sorry to say Avengers in different contexts, but you know what I mean.
The new,
Like,
yeah, because the new trailers just dropped, and yeah,
sure, yeah. What am I adding to the conversation? What am I adding to the world of art by saying this was pants?
it's so much easier to add to throw in negativity, because what most of the time you're pouring out is your own thing.
Hmm.
Now, there's also conversely, I'm passionate about things I love, and when they're kind of thing, and I'm like secretly one of these people who'll be like, oh, that was rubbish or whatever, but I'm very vocal about it. But I also get I get people's frustrations with things and all
Hmm.
that type of stuff. And so we're having this circular conversation because it's somehow gone into like
I'll I'll
YouTube.
land it. Don't worry, I'll land
Yeah,
it.
and great, thank you, Captain. And it's there's a lot of YouTube critique and all this type of stuff for things, but it's harder to put positive energy out there. But ultimately, look, there's things that we are customers of and we're fans of, and we want the thing to be good. So I get those frustrations as well. So, but my overriding point was like, it's hard getting a thing made. So
Hmm.
sometimes you have to offer grace in that way. And I think the Avengers is a good, the original, the 96 Avengers is a good example of that. As is any of, the recent comic book fair that hasn't fared as well.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's been a few misses there, but this is not the show for that.
No, no, exactly. Cut this
Speaking
out.
of
Yes.
speaking of hits, though,
Yes.
season 1 of
Yeah.
Black Ops, and
Yeah.
I will say, yeah, you mentioned Bemi a few times. I think another bit of the secret sauce of Black Ops
Yeah.
is Hamid. I mean, you've got a co-lead there. Hamid is like, I don't know, almost like the fall guy to Bemi in a sense.
Yeah.
Like it allows himself to be the butt of the joke, but is
Yeah.
pretty good at doing that with grace. Because you could just, there is a bad way of doing that, and he does it, I think, with grace is what I'm going to say.
Those two together are just that's perfect casting.
I was
Uh,
going to say,
I'm taking credit for that.
okay.
I'm going to take credit for that because there was a conversation about like kind of early on, like, oh, do you want to play this role? And I was like, and Ben was like, oh, you should play the role, and I was like, no, but I know someone who's going to be really really good in this pocket. And they hadn't worked together before, and I think kind of yeah, I rang him. I rang him I remember where I was. It was a Saturday, and we were in the depths of COVID, and I was running, and I rang him and I said, listen, I'm going to send you a script. And I don't know Hamid that well, to be
Hmm.
fair. But loved his work. He's a brilliant, brilliant actor, and he was an amazing stage actor as well. And I rang him and I said, look, there's a script I'm going to send you. Like, have a read. If you don't like it, whatever, just whatever.
Yeah.
And he read it and he liked it, and he just thought that he was coming to do a table read, not knowing that I'd been like, look, this is the thing. And he delivered, and all I want sometimes is when I like believe in someone is them to knock it out the park. And he did that, and he was absolutely brilliant. And he was absolutely brilliant. And it's testament to like brilliant actors that they
Hmm.
never worked together before, but you would never know that out. So you'd be like, these guys have known each other for like 30 years. Fred Astaire, Ginger Rogers, like, whatever. And they've got such brilliant shorthand, and they work together. So that's like one of my proudest moments in terms of bringing peak talent together.
Well, they feel like a perfectly fleshed out comedy duo, like as if they've been doing it for a long time.
100%.
Yeah.
100.
So the fact that this is their first or second season bit of work is actually quite crazy. And
Mm.
you mentioned the original genesis of the idea was like undercover cops and obviously the gang in the first season. When did the change come to them being PCSOs?
Sorry, that was from the Genesis. I should have said that. It was PCSOs. That was a very specific thing that Bemi had pitched. She said
Right.
PCSOs going to undercover cops because you'd never seen that before. And
Mm,
also PCSOs, I'm gonna, they try their best, but the general public has a healthy disdain for them because they're like, well, you don't have the powers of arrest.
hmm.
So that was a great comedy starting point to take these people who have power, but it's very soft power, and then have them in a situation that they are totally unqualified for and very clearly inept,
Hmm.
in the context of. So um, it was, yeah, that was all Bemi. That was all Bemi.
Well, it's pulling from that sort of fish out of water, that comedy thing of doing the fish out of water. You go back to sort of, you mentioned Eddie Murphy earlier, coming to
Yeah,
America, that sort of stuff. Like that type of comedy is fantastic, and can be done very well, and it is in this season. And so season one happens. Obviously, you get the green light for season two. Season two is here. We're talking about it. Because you mentioned your James Bond influences, and I've got some questions about spy stuff. But season two it starts off with our leads. This isn't a spoiler.
yeah,
Working at MI5.
yeah. It's not a spoiler at all. And it's alluded to at the end of one,
Hmm.
really, because Kirsty um, sort of recruits them for a mission effectively and says like, come with me, guys, whisks them off like, it's very end of Men in Black 1. It's
Yep.
very end of Back to the Future. It's
Hmm.
like, hey, we've got another mission to go on, and it's just alluded that they'll be, going into that. They'll be advancing in the world of espionage. So where we pick up with them in at the beginning of two makes sense. And it was just, to be honest, I love spy stuff. I love that world. So to be able to take our hapless heroes into that world and have them engage in more shenanigans and more hijinks within that world was just like, it was a no-brainer, really.
Was it always the plan that if you get a season two, you're going full spy?
Yeah, I think an audience would kind of be disappointed if you didn't go that direction and you had them kind of PCSOing for, we've done that. We've done
Hmm.
that, we've shown that. And actually what's great about the template of the show is where it can go, is that
Yep.
you set up the rudiments of this beautiful relationship. These two people kind of force together who develop a siblingship,
Hmm.
for lack of a better phrase. And you can take them into different situations because you want to be with them. And then we get to throw a genre on it. So it's a really great starting place.
What sort of influences are you drawing on for the second season? Because this is where I'm whetting the appetite of everyone now. So
Okay.
obviously, there's. I mean, one thing is it balances a lot of comedy and tension, which is a
Yeah.
classic James Bond thing.
Yeah.
You got a lot of that going on. I've seen the first two episodes of season two, so I'm
Yeah.
not going to spoil anything, but definitely a lot of comedy and definitely some tension in there. How are you balancing those two things?
I don't want to spoil anything, but
Hmm.
it's in the plotting. It's in the plotting really, and it's in like the because it's billed as a comedy thriller, and it is both comedic and thrilling because these guys go on a thrilling ride, and there's a lot of like twists and turns. To be able to do that in half an hour is like insane
Yep.
because another show would, you'd get 45, maybe 50 minutes to do that. But because of the pace of the jokes and other stuff, yeah, it's a very deft act that we're following. I don't want to spoil it, so that's why I'm kind of
No.
dancing around a little bit. And I don't want to really be like, we draw on Jean Le Carré for this, and we take from, it's got a lot of it's got a lot of spy, it's got some welcomed spy tropes in there that people will enjoy. But if I was to flag them up,
It might spoil the fun.
just a tad, just a tad, just a tad. But
There
but
is
fans of
there,
spy lore will enjoy some things in there.
and is that coming from you?
That's coming from our room to give our room credit. I'm always, and this is certifiable. I'm the point of reference, and I'm the almanac of bondness in that room. So people will look to me and be like, "AK, is this?" I'm be like, "Well, no, that's a bit more of a that's a bit more of a peers thing, or that's a bit more of a Timothy Dalton type thing, or whatever. Or I'll tell them exactly what film a trope had come from.
Hmm.
And so yeah, but to be honest, I'm always throwing in a Bondian kind of trope or convention. But we have an amazing writers room who are geniuses in their own right, and not without a steady stream of inventive plot devices. And I just happen to be the the boffin who can tell them whether it's Bondian enough.
I was very fortunate to get invited to a screening of the first two episodes at the BFI with yourself. We had a lovely chat there. I won't spoil this, but there is a character name in the second episode that got a smile on my face, and I think I was the only one in the room who laughed, which I felt like that joke was entirely for me. And by that I would mean probably all of the listeners would probably get that joke too.
Mm. I'm going through the annals of the thing and trying to remember what it was.
First name is David.
You've stumped me. You've actually
Oh
stumped me
no! Oh no!
on my own show.
That's okay.
But watch. What's so annoying is I'm going to go and watch it now and be like, of course, of course, of course.
You'd be like,
But
that was my joke.
yes, exactly, exactly. Why is it not coming? Anyway, it's late. It's late. It's evening
It
time
is
now.
evening time. It is evening
Yeah,
time. But suffice to say, then there's plenty of Easter eggs for Spy fans to tackle and try and find.
amazing.
Um, the other addition to the cast seems to be someone who I'm vaguely familiar with just from speaking to before, but he was recently in Star Trek Picard, was Ed Speleers.
Yes, and Ed is a very cool guy. He's a movie star, man.
Mhm.
He's a movie star. He's a movie star. That's the best way I can like say it. He was so brilliant in this show, and just a joy to be around. Our character, because I'm in the show as well. For listeners that might not know, I play season one, one of the season one baddies who gets brought back for season two. That's not a spoiler because that was in the press release.
That's
But
my
so
next question.
yes, but my character and Ed's character don't necessarily interact, and that's fine. But like we got to spend a bit of time when he was in,
Hmm.
we we had a lovely evening of dinner. We had a great dinner together. He happens to be a Tottenham fan. I'm an Arsenal fan. So there was like humor and ribaldry there. But no, Ed's a really, really, really cool guy, man. We had a great time. And he's a phenomenal actor.
Well, you sort of queued up my next question, so I thank you for that. Uh, you're back in season two. You could have easily sort of been written off, really,
I
if you're
could
looking at it. But you're back, and you have a bit of a character arc you're going through, I think, on
I
this one.
do have a character arc. I could have been killed off. But it just so happens that I am a co-creator of the show and I want to act.
Mm.
So sue me. But no, to be honest, Tevin's arc and his series two arc and his series two inclusion are very much alluded to at the end of series one. It's sort of no sort of spoiler to say that. So for the last 2 years, people have been like, "Oh my gosh, is he coming back? Is he coming back?" Yes, of course I am, because I want to work. But it makes so much sense, and Tevin goes on a beautiful journey in this second series, really beautiful journey, and it's one of those like I'm just sort of stumped because I can't spoil it, but it's just a really great journey he goes on, and it's very fun. It was very fun to play as well.
I suppose in the last question before I move us on to a subject I think you're chomping at the bit to talk about, I can see you,
Yeah.
is for people who perhaps haven't seen the first season, I would personally urge you to go check out the first season before season two drops. But what could people expect from season two of Black Ops?
Dom and Kay getting themselves into more mess and finding the funniest way to get out of it. Series one, people audiences took to it so well, which was kind of took me back a bit. And so for those of the audience and audiences around the country and worldwide who enjoyed the first one, it's more of the same with bigger production value and more jokes.
Okay. So you've confessed, professed, shouted, screamed, stated that you are the James Bond aficionado. You said you were the James Bond almanac 5 minutes ago.
Well, I said that about the Black Ops writing room, but I was the almanac for them.
Okay.
You might quiz me on some Sid Kane stuff, and I'll be like, I don't know. I think Ken Adam did that one, but no, I know my stuff, and I love Bond so much. I really do.
Well, what's that journey then? Let's get into that because you mentioned a little bit at the start watching it as a kid. What was your first Bond film and where did that journey begin?
So my first Bond would have been the one, at least, that I remember really like vividly, was Moonraker. And Moonraker just is me, my dad, in our front room, and he just put it on. It just put it on, and then from that moment of you see the gun barrel, and then we get to the skies above. Where's Moneypenny? Where's 007? He's on that Africa job. He's just on his last leg. And then you get the stewardess is like, any higher and my ears will pop. And I just remember all of that. And then like, this is where we leave you, Mr. Bond. I can like quote it in such thing because these are formative memories.
Hmm.
And it's just the silliness of it. Because I know Moonraker is derided amongst like the kind of the Connery diehards and like the folks who really wanted like kind of Roger Moore to have his From Russia with Love, which he did get with For Your Eyes Only just to a large extent. But like for a kid watching Moonraker, particularly in the late 80s, early 90s, that's it. That's the cartoon version of it. That's like Bond's going out of the sky and parachuting, Jaws is chasing him. I think that's like BJ Worth did that dive, and
Hmm.
like they've got like cameras because there's no CGI, mind you. There's no CGI in this thing. So like they're doing it for real, and they can only shoot for like short bursts of time because like they could break their necks. So there's that element of it that you kind of appreciate as you get older, that stuff. But like as a kid watching that, then the briefing in M's office, and you see, you get the first kind of glimpses of the watch that he uses, and for that mission, and then there's the gondola and on in Venice, and then there's that boat. I wanted as a kid, I wanted the boat that goes across the river in Brazil. Like I wanted that boat. I was like, this is amazing. You've got bombs at the back, you've got machine guns. It was just the most amazing film. And it was like, and then you got Drax as a villain, and then you get some dark stuff. Because when Drax sets his dogs on Karen DeFore, and like she's her through the forest, and then there's that eerie a piano kind of string score, and it's kind of that's scary. Like, and as a kid, even though people would look at Moonraker as like a cartoon, that was scary for me. You know, that was scary. So um that was my first Bond that I remember. And then Dad also had Diamonds Are Forever on tape. Now that
Oh,
was
right.
totally different.
Mm-hmm.
That and he preferred Sean. Dad preferred Sean. That was it. And yes, Diamonds Are Forever is like Guy Hamilton's. Is that his second? And it's like it's not a great film looking back, but like even within that, and you're comparing, if you're doing an A/B, Sean's still a harder edged Bond than Sir Roger was. So, I was like, this is different. And then I would go and watch like From Russia with Love, like when it was on TV, like,
Mm-hmm.
like occasionally ITV would do these seasons of Bond. It would always be ITV, never BBC would never have.
Yeah, it's always been the license for ITV.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
and also on bank holidays here in the UK, you would
There
just
you
get them.
go. You'd get them, and then you have like a James Bond kind of the James Bond season. And I remember like watching From Russia with Love and not understanding it as a kid.
Sure.
Because where's the gadgets? Where's the this? Where's the that? Where's the, and so those Sean ones as a kid was so much harder to watch for me because I was
Yeah.
like, attaché case, where's the rotating a watch? Where's the rotating Seiko watch that can like cut through wires? Live and let die. So, but then as I got older, I appreciated it, and I remember I might have been about 9, maybe I was about 9. I got at the time the widescreen collection. The collection it was very orange and yellow on the thing,
Yes,
black
sir.
box, orange and yellow, and then it went up to maybe Tomorrow Never Dies. I remember getting that, but prior to that, I from Our Price, which our American listeners won't know, but Our Price was like Virgin Mega Stores. It was
Mm-hmm.
that, and you get CDs, books, videos, and I remember getting Dr. No, because I had this. My mum, bless my mum. If my mum knew I was into something, my mum would just try and help facilitate that itch. I remember she got me this book called Great Scott, and it was a biography of Sean Connery.
Mm.
Blue book. I put it in my living room, and it, in a really nice way, outlined what the order of Sean's films were. So I'd read a little bit about it, and I was like, okay, Doctor No, got to get into this Doctor No. So I remember getting Doctor No from Our Price, so I had that, and I was like, oh, this is boring, as a kid. And then I got the
Yeah,
whole
yeah, yeah.
collection as a 9-year-old, so I was able to be like, oh my god, this is everything. And weirdly enough, my younger cousin, I bequeathed that to him when he kind of came of age, and I'd moved on to the silver ultimate DVD collection. I was like,
Yep.
have these videos. Let it start your thing, and
Mm-hmm.
the Bond nerd because of that. So yeah, to answer, that's my Bond journey. Like started with Moonraker, that was my gateway drug, and then that just set the stage for just a lifetime of like nerdery with Bond. And then as I got older, really started appreciating who and what Sir Sean was, and why he, in so many ways, is the ultimate Bond. And and even though I think there's a line in those DVD extras from the Ultimate Collection, the ones that were done in the 90s. I think you pointed out. I think they were done in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah, John Cork and Bruce Sibley did
There
those.
you
Yeah.
go. They called Sean the richest man in the poorhouse, as in like he was the best of a bad bunch because they wanted David Niven, they wanted all these different people, to play Bond, and then Sean, Terence Terence Young took him to Turnbull and Nasser, got him scrubbed up and made him look right, and he just was that. They describe him as a panther, and you watch him and you watch the cheekiness of Sean Connery's Bond. And I think that is typified by certain things. Like he's like a naughty schoolboy, and that's typified by like in Thunderball. He does it several times. When he kills Jack Beauvoir in the
Hmm.
pre-titles, he's about to leave, and then he throws the bouquet over him as he's in, laying on in the fire. But then when he's at Shrublands, he's creeping around and doing sneaky Bond, as some Bond scholars have called it before. He's doing some sneaky Bond spy work, and like instead of just leaving the room where he's gonna get caught, he's sort of there's a fruit bowl there, and he's like, "I'm gonna nick a bit of fruit." That's just delicious, like detail, and it says so much about
Hmm.
how Sean Connery played him. It's like so cheeky, like mate, just leave. You've gone back.
Get out.
Just get out.
It's one of those. I mean, you do find moments like that in future films. One of my favorites is always in Goldeneye, where Pierce has just beaten up those two blokes on the boat, and instead of walking out of the shot, he picks up a towel and just wipes his head
Yeah.
and then leaves the shot. It's like, yes.
He was great because he just was like, it's like in the Matrix where like
Hmm.
Neo gets fed martial arts or he gets fed like guns. He's like guns. And he was just like he like touched, he'd been tapped into Sir Roger, Sir Sean, and Timmy D, and he just had elements of all of them, and he was brilliant for that. I think Pierce Brosnan doesn't get nearly enough credit as he should. I think he was kind of just like unfortunate in that he didn't have Martin Campbell come back for his second, which I think should have happened. But I think Martin Campbell went on to do Zorro instead,
He
right?
did. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think like he didn't have a good enough script. I don't think the script was finished, and the concept was great, like the whole media thing, and that was very prescient. Um, but it just wasn't. I mean, look, I enjoyed it at the time because it was my first cinematic Bond. It was my first time going to the cinema and being like, "Oh my god!" Getting the pre-titles in
Yeah. Yeah.
time and being with a raging audience. I went to see it at Odeon Leicester Square in 97, and the audience cinema's packed. There's no
Hmm.
empty seats. Like, what are we doing here? We're not mucking around. Cinema's packed, everyone's loving it. And but yeah, I think Pierce Brosnan unfortunately had like diminishing returns with each film. Like it had its merits in certain
Yeah. Yeah.
points,
Yeah.
but yeah, it wasn't like he didn't have as a banger like Goldeneye.
My line has always been with Pierce. His performance got better and his
Yes,
script got weaker.
that's the perfect summation of it. You're absolutely right. Because by the time we get to, even when we get to the pre-titles of Die Another Day, actually, he's clocked the character. He's
Yeah.
clocked it. And actually, in another look, and I know Lee Tamahori's passed, and don't speak ill of the dead, but I just don't think Lee Tamahori was the guy to direct that film for my
Sure.
personal thing. And I think you had the first subversive the opportunity for the first subversive Bond pre-titles. Like, oh, for the
Hmm.
40th, we're going to spin it on its head. But I kind of think a few things were wrong. I think like Zhao was the wrong villain, like because it was so mired in the classic diamonds in the face kind of thing. And I think like that thing of Colonel Moon being, you know what I mean? Like that whole thing
Yeah.
was too much of a stretch. But the general concept of it, like oh, we're going behind enemy lines and he gets caught. And then the pre-titles is, I mean, even the title sequence is him getting tortured and all this
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
It set the stage for something really good. But what you needed, and I suppose it is a real danger to do, and particularly at that time with a property that with a film that ended up making like I think it ended up making like 600 mil. It was
It's
like
one of the best box offices for a Bond ever.
100%. So who am I to say, oh, do you know what you should have done? You should have gone and got like a really kind of gritty director. You should have got David Fincher to go do that. You should have got Michael Mann. No,
Mm.
because at the time you're chasing box office. But yeah, so to your point, Pierce's films, I keep on calling him Pierce because my old agent was called Pierce. Pierce's films, um, Pierce's films his performance was successive, was consistently better, but yeah, I think the scripts and the execution thereof weren't as good as they could have been. And that's no slight to the amazing like Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson. I think those guys have just been the most amazing stewards of their family business. They've been
Yeah.
the most amazing stewards of their family business, and they've made us fans so happy, you know. Even when we've moaned about certain things, like, ultimately with Auntie Barbara and Uncle Michael G. Wilson, you're going to be, getting a Bond in the cinema, especially even with No Time to Die. You're just like, wow, we get to sit down and enjoy that. But being a critical fan, it's like, yeah, it got worse. And ironically, it's like I think Pierce's scores got better progressively. You know what I mean? His scores got better because I hate the score for GoldenEye with a passion.
I think you and everyone else.
I hate it with a passion. One of my dreams is why don't you? And it's sacrilege. You can't do it because it's a disrespect to a composer's work. But it's like this is so bad. It's so bad. And Eric Serra is an incredible composer, but he's
Hmm.
just not a composer for Bond. You know what I
No,
mean?
and it's also really unfortunate that like if you watch Leon the Professional
Yeah,
right before Goldeneye, you realize a lot of his music is exactly the same. He
yeah.
didn't do anything particularly unique for Bond.
No, he.
The only good thing that came out of Michael Cera's score
Yeah,
for Goldeneye is the music for the Goldeneye game.
absolutely, 100%. Like those kind of like that kind of like breathy synth hits that he'd do. But yeah, the GoldenEye game themes are just incredible. They're iconic. Even that little I think it's oft used on Instagram and TikTok where they will do like the
The
holding
pause
pain.
music.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
pause
yeah, yeah.
music. That's great, but that's not what you want from a Bond film. I want and that's why David Arnold coming in was a stroke of luck. It was John Barry that introduced or suggested him, right?
Yes, there was a
Yeah,
relationship there, and also gave him sort of the blessing, and especially
yeah,
with Tomorrow Never Dies. Yeah.
yeah. It's like uh, who educate me? Who composed the St. Petersburg tank scene? Whose work was that? Because I know that wasn't Eric
There was
Serra.
another chap. The name, I want to say Neil in my head, but I'll find out for you. GoldenEye
Neil
tank
Armstrong, Vic Armstrong's uncle. No, I'm joking.
tank chase score. Dum, dum, dum. Yes, we know it's not. John Altman.
John Altman. Okay. Oh yes, 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 yes. Like you needed that because it would have been like there's certain themes that you want to hear and you don't want them overused. You don't want that big Bond theme every time, but for that tank scene you have to. And it's really interesting because I came down to the Thunderball anniversary screen, which was great by the way. It was
Thank you.
great. Packed house, and you did a great Q&A, like really great questions to Miss Martine Beswick, who was was for us it was a treat because she was in the audience. But I one thing that struck me was the use of the 007 thing,
Hmm.
which I think it's only like three times it's been used. Um, and the last time we got it was in Moonraker.
Yeah, it's weird they've not gone back to it. Like it's a
No,
good bit of music.
it's a great bit of music, and there's some themes that like, and that is actually like one of John Barry's like greatest contributions to the thing because obviously like there's a whole Monty Norman conversation,
Hmm.
whatever, but like when like that 007 theme is great when used. It's just a blah 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 blah. Blah. It's a great thing, and it's like there's certain
Yeah.
sequences that you want them in a Bond film, and that James Bond main theme with the Vic Flick guitars, with the vamp, everything you want that, and I think that's what I'm so glad that they gave us that in GoldenEye. I'm so glad they gave us that because it just wouldn't have been a Bond film without it.
On the topic of Bond, and clearly it's been a big part of your life
Yeah,
since you were very young.
yeah.
What do you see in the character of Bond? Why does that character appeal to you so much?
Well, it shouldn't. it shouldn't on paper. Like it really shouldn't. Like I
Mm.
am like I'm a super proud black African British man who has nothing in common on paper with this kind of I'm going to quote M in GoldenEye, this sexist misogynist dinosaur, this relic of
Hmm.
the Cold War. But I think for a lot of people my age and before me will say the same thing. Bond represents a kind of like male escapist fantasy that actually kind of is colorless in a way. Because culturally we use the reference of James Bond as like a reference for a kind of cool, and
Hmm.
it's not a cool that like I would look up to now and be like, oh, the guy's cool, but it's just a certain suaveness, the GQ, the shawl lapel tuxedos, the Timberland Assa suit, that whole styling and tailoring and the gadgets and the always gets the girl. And look, in 2025, 2026, those things are kind of antiquated and like there are better ways to be, but he's a killer, man. And he's a killer, he's a stone cold killer, and he's cool. And I think for me, it was a bonding thing. Me and my dad, it was our time. We would sit down and watch the films. My dad never went to the cinema. I don't ever remember him going to the cinema, but I remember he would sit through a Bond film with me. And I think for a lot of guys, anywhere in the world from any background was growing up and was watching Bond and being like, this is cool. And then the gadgets and the tech and the Q branchery of it all is just like so cool. Like it's so cool. We talked about Tracy Island earlier, and what I after watching a Bond or putting one of them on, I would try and like make Bond gadgets. I'd take a watch that I had and try and see if I could make a garrote wire out of it, or
Hmm.
and then you're playing. I remember like with some of my friends from primary school. Um, I remember that I had this friend Vince Pizzuto, and Vince's house was the coolest house because he had amazing toys and all sorts. And I remember like playing James Bond. We were all James Bond. Like you be James Bond and you be James Bond. And there was no kind of color attached to it or anything like that. And it was just for kids, for young boys. And I don't know if it still prevails in that way, but that's what it represented, man. It was a kind of cool, and I just loved it. It was escapist.
Yeah, it's just something I think that you are attracted to or you aren't. I think it has nothing to do with where you're from
Yeah,
or your background or anything like that. If you liked Bond and you were brought into it, especially young as well, I think
yeah,
that's a big
yeah,
part of it. I've
yeah.
got four brothers, and we used to go on holiday every year, and wherever we were, we would play James Bond. And so basically, we would four of us would be guards, and one would be James Bond, and we had to try and
Yeah,
break into wherever we were staying. And
yeah.
it was kind of like half Metal Gear Solid, half James Bond. But
Oh,
like,
yeah,
you can already picture the game in your head. You know
yeah.
exactly
Of
what we
course,
were doing,
that's
and
great.
it's a great game. And we
Yeah,
still talk about those moments. And that was just five boys manifesting this. And we'd walk around making like the like the PPK silence from GoldenEye N64. And it was just like you can't you can't you can't make that up. You can't create that unnaturally. It has to make itself.
no, 100%. And it has to talk to something in you. And it's like, look, people like what they like. Like I grew up enjoying action figures, toys. Like I wish you could see my shelf. My shelf is filled with comic books and action figures like GI Joes. I still buy and collect old GI Joes, because that's just what I liked as a kid. No one told me, "Oh, you've got to play with these toys." There was just something instinctively that
Hmm.
made me like them. And that's the thing with life. Like people like what they like in terms of entertainment or pastimes and all that type of stuff. There's a reason why these boys will gravitate to those toys, the girls will gravitate towards those toys, and there's just some things that are, that conversation of nature versus nurture. There's just some things that are innate, and I think maybe look, one angle is that like if you're fortunate enough to have your pops around, you're going to try and emulate the what he does or
Hmm.
ever. So for me, it was like it was always that. It was like, oh, my dad was cool. Like my dad was James Bond to me in a lot of ways. So it's like, my dad was James Bond. So yeah, I liked what I liked. I liked what I liked, and I love Bond.
Hey, there's no need to justify it. You're in friendly territory here.
No, 100%, 100%. Yeah,
And you kicked up a question in my mind that I wanted. It's a discussion that's ongoing in the Bond
yeah,
community,
yeah.
and that is, yours was Moonraker. Mine was probably GoldenEye.
Mhm.
I probably did see another Bond film on a bank holiday, but not enough to recall what it was, so I will never
Mhm.
say it as anything other than GoldenEye.
Mhm.
What do you think is the best first timer Bond film? Like the one if someone says to you, "Okay, I want to watch a Bond film.
Yeah.
What do I do?"
So here's the thing, because there's an easy answer, and I'll just give a bit of context. Like
Hmm.
over the weekend, I did a Michael Jackson podcast because that was like one of my like big kind of conversation pieces, and I was tasked with doing. We had to have a 12 song rundown of the best songs, and I
That's
was
tough.
constantly. It's really tough, and I was changing my. I had this list, and I was changing it in as we were doing the podcast because the lovely host was like, we were coming up with some of the same things, so I didn't want to go over the same thing, but then I was also having this thing of like there is no best.
Okay.
There is no first entry. Like you can't be like, what's the best? If I was forced to though, if I was to say, and this is the sort of PC PR thing, I would say one that isn't my favorite, but I can understand why people would love it. So I
Hmm.
could do it in two ways. I could do the modern one, and I could do the classic one. So the modern one, I'd say for people to get as an entry point would be Casino Royale.
Sure. Yeah.
The 67 version. No, I'm joking, I'm
Yeah.
joking. Charles K. Feldman. Come on. No, no, no. No. It would be
Sir James Bond.
Sir James Bond, exactly. No. I'd do a climax. Card sent to Jim
Ah,
Bond. No.
54.
Let's not do that. No, seriously, let me get serious. I would say for like modern sensibilities, the 2006 Casino Royale, even though that is like a reboot of sorts, I'd say it gets people with like a more modern kind of visual appetite, and it kind of redefines Bond for this this century. So I'd say that. But I'd also say just, if they wanted a classic Bond, which isn't necessarily my favorite, I'd say Goldfinger because it has a lot of the hallmarks that people came to associate with Bond. And that is the one thing that like have to give Guy Hamilton credit for is
Hmm.
that what he did was he took all those elements, he took the spy stuff, but he then made it a bit of a comic because he didn't have, listen, guys, we're going to be attracted to cool cars that do cool stuff. And it's Chekhov's gun, isn't it? If you tell me um ejector seat, you're joking. An ejector
Must be joking.
exactly. So if you tell me that there's an ejector seat, I'm going to want to see you use it. So there's all that. There's machine guns. There's a GPS. There's that car. That's that car. Then you got. She was covered in paint, gold paint. You've got Jill Masterson. You've got him haranguing the bully, the villain of the piece beforehand. You've got Oddjob with his hat. You've got so many tropes that depending on where we were in pop culture, we had to, the producers ably dialed it back or pumped it up. But you've got basically the formula for like what Bond became for the subsequent years.
Hmm.
So it is kind of like a great entry point. And then you have Honor Blackman as Pussy Galore. And like while because of obviously like the Hays Code and all that type of stuff, you couldn't talk about her sapphic inclination. You couldn't talk about that. You couldn't talk about the fact that the what was her group called?
Flying Circus.
There you go, the Flying Circus. You couldn't say that this was a very LGBTQ plus for its
Hmm.
time. Like you weren't allowed to say that. And so that's progressive in so many ways. And uh, who else? You've just got a villain's master plan, which is like it's not, and it's a clever one. It's not stealing the gold. He's going to make it radioactive so that his supply will be that. So you got a lot of kind of cool tropes. You've also got it's not it set a template for Bond as well that like we don't have to lean on Spectre as the villains. It was the first, so it set the stage in a really cool way for Bond, and I think for an audience kind of wanting it, and it was also people say, Thunderball was I think Thunderball was the highest grossing and all that type of stuff. And it was the ultimate peak of Bond mania in the 60s. But I think Goldfinger set the template of what audiences expected. So while it is not my favorite or one that I go to super regularly, because I would say for people coming in that would be a good one. So I gave two options. I said Casino for like, if you want a modern thing, and um, Goldfinger for just like classic Bond, and it's Connery as well. So
Or if you have 5 hours, do both.
do both. Why not? Why not?
It's
Do like a Casino trilogy. Do Climax, the 54 Climax. Do Charles K. Feldman 67 and do '06 and see which
that
one.
is an exercise in looking at a plot or an idea and it's seeing in different visions. Like as a writer, that must be quite interesting in the sense of being like, so they've taken this story and been like, oh, what the fuck? And oh, okay, yeah, that's all right.
It's nuts because, like, look, I love Peter Lorre. Like, Maltese Falcon is one
Hmm.
of my favorite films ever. I think Maltese Falcon is brilliant. And you got Peter Lorre, who had a whole career of playing a kind of very kind of seedy kind of character in like noir and all that. And you got him, he's playing Le Chiffre, right?
Yep.
Yeah, he's playing Le Chiffre. Then you got Jimmy Nelson as Card Sense, not Jimmy Nelson, it's Barry Nelson.
Barry Nelson, Jimmy Bond.
As Jimmy Bond, Card Sense Jimmy Bond. And he kind of ruined it for any American actor ever trying hoping that they could get to be Bond. So John Gavin, Burt Reynolds, and James Brolin. All those guys were so close to playing Bond, and I think the producers, Cubby, was probably looking at it like going like, "Oh yeah, Card Sense Jimmy Bond. We can't have an American."
We can't. Can you do that?
So that's interesting. I've watched that a few times, and I'm like, yeah, it's not very good. And the
For
six,
what it is, it's fine. Like a
but
50s
what
TV show with no money. Like, okay.
exactly on those things, you've got to give it its plaudits. And then the 67 one, I remember my uncle had it. My uncle had it at his house, and I remember he had Live and Let Die on tape. I was about 8. And I kept on begging him to let me borrow Live and Let Die because I loved it and it scared the hell out of me as a kid, but he wouldn't let me borrow it. And instead, he was like, no, have this.
Please take
Please
this.
take this. So I actually still have that. It's in my loft. And I still have that on tape. And I was like, what the hell is this? Like,
I cannot imagine an 8-year-old watching Casino Royale 67. That's
what the hell is this? But then when I got into my teens and Austin Powers became a thing,
yep.
I appreciated the hell out of that 67 Bond because you're seeing, oh, actually, Mike Myers and them really borrowed liberally from this, the psychedelia, the outfits, the everything. Even to the type of guns they use, because they use like a Luger, like Bond uses a Luger in that
Hmm.
instead of like a PPK. So it's very big, it's very outlandish, but you're right. It's an exercise. Watching those 3 casinos is like an exercise in vision and how you interpret source material and reinterpret it.
And I'm sure in our lifetimes there'll be another one.
There
So,
will be another one, yeah. They'll probably remake The Godfather as well at this
oh
point.
God.
Remake The Godfather, remake Citizen Kane. They're going to do everything.
All by
Yeah,
AI as well, I'm sure.
exactly.
Well, speaking of the future, that's where I was going to lead this conversation.
Good
And
one.
that is the future of Bond.
Mm,
Firstly, we've discussed this personally and on DM, but
yeah.
I think it's because yeah, we're at a crossroads right now. And I mean, this is recorded a few weeks before it goes out. I don't think any news is going to happen over the Christmas period, but Denis Villeneuve is still trying to cast Bond. He is directing the next film. It's written by Stephen Knight, who did Peaky Blinders, and the producers made stuff like the Spider-Man films and some others I'm probably forgetting. But
Mm,
a pretty successful team now. I mean,
good.
they're not the Broccolis,
No.
but as far as names attached, I was pretty happy with everyone attached to it.
Yeah.
What would you like to see the future of Bond being?
Faithful and good. those are just the two things. I think like Cubby Broccoli and Harry Saltzman, what they did, what they did initially with that first tranche was phenomenal. And then what Cubby did on his own, when he, got sole ownership was, I don't think it's been repeated in film really or in the industry. And then what his heirs did was out of this world. So that's why when I use the word faithful, I don't think Barbara Broccoli or her brother made a decision that their dad wouldn't be proud of. And I'd say that, how dare I say it? I don't even know them. I didn't know their dad, but I feel I'm such a fan that I know Cubby's history and that I think Cubby would be proud of everything of how they've stewarded this thing. What I wouldn't want to see, I just want it to be faithful, to be honest. And that can mean different things because look, Casino Royale '06 is nothing like Moonraker. And Moonraker is nothing like
For Your Eyes Only.
Your Eyes Only. So faithful, man. Look, there's things that we expect, and there is a healthy amount of fan service that's required. That can be a very dirty word in modern terms because, like, there's some franchises that have done fan service and they've used it as a crutch. Callbacks galore, member berries, all of that type of stuff. But you have to serve your nerds first because your nerds are the people that will watch it 5, 6 times. I remember going to Force Awakens. I saw Force Awakens about 5 times. And it's the 10-year anniversary of Force Awakens. I saw it like 5 times. Serve your nerds ably and cater to your nerds to a large degree. So, and I think you said something that made a lot of sense. The
That sounds
world,
right.
yeah, the world changes around Bond, but he doesn't change. So, and I think when they clocked that, they clocked it a few times. They clocked it with George Lazenby in being like, "Oh snap, our main actor can go and we can replace him and fine, and we can move into something different." But then by 73 and 74, okay, you're borrowing from blaxploitation, Live and Let Die. Enter the Dragons just come out the year before, so let's Man with the Golden Gun's going to have a healthy martial arts thing to it. Star Wars has come out. This has come out, but then politics has changed. The Iron Curtain goes down in 91. So what does that mean for the future of Bond? All right, well, let's recontextualize it. And every time they go too far, they always bring it back. Now, back to the word faithful. I don't really want to see Bond change. I don't want him to become PC. I don't want certain politics to be imbued on Bond. Bond is the defender of the realm in a lot of ways. And he's a comment on Britishness, on Britain and the empire and the post-colonial empire and all that type of stuff. And so there's that. It's kind of throughout it, it's never explicitly discussed, but there'll always be a nod, like George Lazenby in Ohms saluted the Queen. He's just like, "Mom,
Here's to you, Mom."
yeah, here's
Yeah.
to you, Mom." There you go. There's all those bits, and you know that he's a defender of this thing. And he's a man with his own demons and all that type of stuff. I just want it to be faithful. I think those are my words. And look, it's a daunting task for any actor coming in. You know, you've got to be a steward. I also don't want to see an actor talking in the press and being like, "Oh, I'd rather slit my wrists than do another Bond." Whether that is a negotiation tactic, because Sir Roger had his negotiation tactics or whatever. But like, I just want to see someone who is outwardly like, "Yo, I love doing this." You never heard Pierce Brosnan decrying or slagging off the thing. I think it's an amazing franchise to spearhead. And I also want in this era that the producers look after that person and give them all the stuff they need to give us, the fans, what we want. Because ultimately, even though I make television and film, I'm a fan. I will spend my money and go to the cinema like all the other people that watch this thing. And there's certain things that we want. We're not all gonna get satiated because some will pull for a more For Your Eyes Only, some will pull for a Moonraker. Like, but give me something, have a clear vision and give me something and take a swing as well. So faithful would be it and good. And look, the kind of creative cohort smart and talented and good enough. I mean, you can't go wrong with Denny, with Stephen Knight, who's done wonders, and the producers. I also just don't want algorithmic stuff as well. I don't want them to look at the algorithm and be like, oh, this person in Maine quite likes 20 people in Maine like this from James Bond. Let's put this in. No, talk to your geeks, talk to, Matthew Field and AJ Chowdhury, talk to you, Agent Scott, like consult your nerds. I think it's so important. Consult your nerds and just have like a little, that's what I think they should do for these franchises. I think they should get a brain trust of all the best nerds and have them be like, look, we're not going to take all of what you say, but what do you think we
Mhm.
should do? So faithful and good. That would be my two things. And please do. I don't want an American actor. I don't want who the hottest American actor is coming in and doing this. Got to be a British dude. Got to be British.
I think the thing I have said is I want to be surprised. I don't, if I can think of the plot or I can name the actor right now,
Mm.
it's probably not the right plot or the right actor.
And you're absolute, and that's a good way of looking at it. Like, look, a lot of us have done this probably for the last 10 years about, oh, when Daniel Craig leaves, what is it going to be? And a lot of people have said this thing about like it going back to the 60s.
Hmm.
And which is cool. And I think there's precedent for it because Cubby wanted to do that in 87 when Pierce was cast. They wanted to kind of do, originally make Living Daylight some version of that. I think the right age for Bond is some point in his 30s, but I think doing a period piece is difficult because then that requires a reboot at some point anyway. And it's super expensive to film
And you
period.
lose a lot of the product tie-ins. You can't advertise the new McLaren.
Exactly. You can't advertise a new McLaren, but then also, are you making a comment on the 60s? I mean, because there's a sexy way that we can do it. And we can do those inter film missions. So
Hmm.
like when, I know it's the 70s, but you could be like beginning of you could do the Rome affair that M talks about in where Rogers Bond is taking Agent Caruso. And it's like you could do the Rome affair. But then the problem with any of these period pieces is that you are locked in for a period and you're always going to be doing a commentary on like, oh, well, I don't have my phone, and it's always going to feel like this weird meta anachronistic kind of thing that you're doing, and it just, yeah, it's a tricky one. So whoever's doing, like, Stephen Knight has got like an amazing task ahead of him, but I mean, come on, he can get it done. He's going to do it.
Well, you say it should be a man in his 30s, so I assume the casting is going to come down to you and me. So I hope whoever the best man wins, really.
I mean, listen, I'd make an amazing Bond. I mean, look, you know what's really funny about Bond? I always find Bond, and I've said this before, is Bond is always it's like a NASDAQ FTSE index of who the hottest actors are.
Yeah, yeah.
If an actor is hot and in the zeitgeist, they'll be like, oh my God, like Paul Giamatti is 2-1 odds to be the next Bond. And it's like, it's a great index of like, like they say, like inflation is about the price of bread,
Hmm.
or cost of
Yeah.
bread or whatever. An actor's worth, a male actor's worth at a certain point in time is whether they've been linked to Bond. Like I've seen some ridiculous names linked to the cast in the Bond, like ridiculous, but they're hot. And
Well, it's like that Elordi chap. I'm forgetting his first name, Jason or Jacob or something like
Jacob,
that.
Jacob, yeah,
Jacob, and he's
yeah.
like 6'8", an Australian, and I'm just like, hmm. I mean, I know Lazenby did it, so sure, but
Yeah, and I'm sure he's a great actor and all that, and he has he's not without his fans and followers and all that type of stuff. But like, as a fan, no,
nah,
no.
nah.
Um, what was interesting, it's always it's the tertiary choice that is always the best. Because for instance, there was actors at the time who was like the guy. I remember Clive. I remember it was like, oh, he's done croupier, so it's gonna be Clive Owen. And then they instead of zigging, they zagged. And I was like, and I hadn't seen Our Friends in the North. I think it was that. Uh,
There was that. There was layer cake, and there was something else that
yeah,
was all part of the package for
yeah. It
Daniel.
was part of the package, and I hadn't seen Layer Cake either. Like I hadn't seen that, and then it was like it was kind of like a slightly ironic choice because no one had pegged him. And like when you look back in the annals of time, and everyone was like, "Oh, it should have been Henry Cavill," and I think Cavill was a brilliant Superman.
Hmm.
Fans of the Gunverse won't like me for saying that, but like he was a great Superman. But like I think after Man from Uncle, and all that, and just time really.
I think he had his shot with Uncle as well. I'm a big Uncle fan, and so having that film was a good idea,
Yeah,
but it didn't go anywhere, and it didn't get any money.
nah, it didn't. And Bond is Bond, so Bond, we all like treat Bond really delicately
Mm.
because just love it. So there's some amazing actors in line for that. And but I wonder if it's a cleaning of house. I wonder if Ray Fiennes will be back as as Mallory. We don't know, and that is part of the fun. So I think the layers of it, the layers of the cake would be, getting an announcement first of who Bond is going to be, and then they're going to let us salivate over that for
Hmm.
months, and then they'll cast the primary Bond girl, and then you know what I mean, and then they'll be like, then
There'll
there'll
be a
be
name, there's a title of the film. That's a whole other announcement. Like,
Well, I saw one the other day that someone said, and I thought it was really good. Someone said for King and Country.
yeah, that's been floated around.
I think
Yeah,
that's a cool title. But again, you and I shouldn't be
nah,
talking about it because they're looking at that going like, oh crap, we can't.
scratch that one out.
Yeah.
Can't use it
Because
now.
also what's gonna happen is someone's gonna say, like, yeah, yeah, they've been looking at my Reddit thread, they stole it, and then they're gonna ask
They
for a
found my tweet
compensation.
on Twitter. Yeah, that's it.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, yeah.
So I think yeah, let us keep guessing. Icebreaker. Do one of the rate. Do I
S-
or license revoked,
Silverfin. Go with the
Silver.
young Bond or something like
Yeah.
that. That just
Oh,
turned
that's one
20.
thing I definitely don't want. I do not, and this is what I'm really not enjoying about the game. I'm seeing a lot of stuff about the game.
Oh yeah.
And the game feels like it could be Uncharted. It could just be any generic thing. I don't
Yeah.
want to, I don't want to see Bond's fashion choices in Quantum of Solace have influenced the game. I don't want to see you in. Give me a tux every now and then. Give me a tux. Give me a tux because I expect the tux. I expect a casino thing. I don't care how out of time it is. I want to see a tux. But like when I saw the game, was it first light?
First Light. Yeah.
Like will I be playing it? Probably not. It just feels like it could be anything.
It's not
And
my
how
kind of game, personally.
say that
It's
again?
not it's not my kind of game. It's not what I play.
No, no, not at all. And what's really interesting is I don't know the numbers of what it sold, but remember the From Russia with Love game that came out years
Yep.
back? Sir Sean did the thing from. I bought that and I played it because it was like, oh, actually I get to do a third person shooter, a third person like action game with Sean Connery voicing it, and it's set in the 60s. That was fun for me.
Hmm.
It wasn't the best game, it wasn't Metal Gear Solid levels, but it was a cool Bond romp, and it was Bond. It was a third person, so I was getting to like jump and hang off things and all that, but it was Bond in the tux, Bond in and around using those same outfits that he'd use in From Russia with Love.
Yeah, I expect I'll get a copy of the game and I'll play it for the sake of getting my thoughts on it, but I
Yeah.
don't think it's the sort of thing I would reach for personally. I'm more of a first person shooter kind of guy, and
Yeah.
even those games give me headaches now.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, yeah. Fair dues.
There's so much Call of Duty I can play before I want to slam my head against the wall.
Yeah.
Um,
I've not played since COVID.
I think that's for the best. It's for the best. It hasn't gotten any better. But let's go to the quick fire round to wrap us up. And the first
Okay.
question is a Bond question. We've
Sure.
spoken about playing Bond, but if
Yeah.
you could have played any character, tapping into your acting sense now, in any of the previous 27 Bond films, what character would
Oh.
you like to have played that isn't Bond?
This is a good question. I like Kananga. I
Hmm.
like Kananga. I like Kananga. I like Kananga. But then in a modern Bond sense, Jeffrey Wright's Felix was great.
Yeah.
His Felix was great. But Kananga, yeah, I really like that because he frightened the hell out of me. Kananga or Baron Samedi maybe, but like yeah, those two characters frightened the hell out of me as a kid, and I thought they was great. Yeah,
I think Kananga's a great choice just because Yaphet Kotto has so much range in that film. And you get to play two
amazing.
characters at the same time.
He's amazing. It's that. He's amazing. It's Kananga. I'd like to point out to our island neighbors that as I got older, I realized that he was playing it. I didn't realize he was playing a tape recorder to do that. I didn't realize what the ruse was.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he was great. So yeah, Kananga.
I think that's a solid choice. I think I'm going to pick someone in the Q lab that gets blown up or sucked into a sofa.
Yeah, or Q sandwich
Oh
in
yeah, Q can eat me
Goldmine.
for lunch if he wants. That's
Yeah.
fine. Yeah, yeah, I'll be in Piers, almost in Pierce Brosnan's mouth for a second. That's
I'm
my
going to let you say that. I'm not going to participate in that joke, but
that's
sure,
fine. Yeah,
sure.
I'm usually the butt of the joke. That's all good with
That's fine.
me. I was going to ask you a question, but I suspect I might know the answer.
Sure.
Which
Try me. Try me. Try me.
okay, Black Ops Season 2.
Oh yeah.
When is it launching on TV?
Black Ops Season 2 is launching January 8th, BBC One
Hmm.
at I believe 9:30 p.m.
I
believe
think you're
it's
right.
like,
I
yeah.
believe you're right. So, your mission, folks, should you choose to accept it, firstly, is to tune into BBC.
Bang.
You gotta set your series link, get that ready, get the whole season down. And also, it's the festive season. Watch the first season.
That's a sensible idea. There you go.
I
I
think
love
so.
it. I love your thinking, Agent Scott. I love your thinking. Can I ask you a question?
Of course you can.
If you were going to be a double O, what would your number be? You could pick any number apart from seven.
Well, I've always liked 004.
Hmm.
There's no
Is
particular.
that Bill? Is that Bill Fairbanks, Alaska?
Yes, but
There you go.
I just feel like I like the number four, always have, and I feel like it's not like the first couple, and it's
Yeah.
not quite close to Bond. It's sort of in the middle of one and seven. So
Yeah.
you could be great, or you could just be like a bit of a pencil pusher,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is more me really. I think I'm more back office staff
Uh-huh.
than out on missions. I'm more of a money penny than I am Bond these days. Um, and my next question,
Yes.
aside from Black Ops Season 2, what else have you got going on at the moment?
Stuff. That's all I say. It sounds cryptic, but
Ah.
I'm just like, I never like jinxing what I have going on because as I said, you can be developing something for a year and then it goes in the bin. So stuff, we'll just say, and you'll see it when you see it.
Well, if you want to write in a nerdy guy that gets blown up in an explosion in the background and happens to look just like me, by all means call him Scott.
100%. All right.
I'm happy
Scott.
to be blown up in any explosions.
Cool. And you won't sue me and be like, that's my likeness.
No, you've got my vocal confirmation on this interview
Love
that
that.
I will
Love
not sue you. There you go.
love love
The lawyer, the solicitors will hate me for saying that. And the last question I have for you, and this question has been asked to everyone that's ever been on the show, so there's no pressure, but
Yeah.
everyone's watching. What is your favorite spy movie of all time?
Yeah, this is a tricky one because I'm gonna throw Bond out. I'm just gonna put Bond. Bond is its own thing. It's its
I
own
like that.
nuance.
I like that. Leave it to one side.
Yeah, leave it to one side. It's a toss up because one of them isn't really a spy film, but it is in that world. Is I love Day of the Jackal so much.
It's a
I
great
mean, there's
film.
so much thriller, espionage, spy-ish kind of stuff. So I love that. Uh, I love that film so much. But I really love Mission Impossible 1.
Hmm.
I think Mission Impossible 1, the Brian De Palma thing, is so rewatchable, so clever. Tom Cruise is brilliant. Great ensemble cast. Yeah, Mission Impossible 1. I watched that film so much. And cool little fact, I actually was in a Mission Impossible film.
What?
So I did Mission Impossible 5, but all of our scenes, everyone who went and filmed that sequence was on the cutting room floor. We went to
Ah,
Morocco. We were in Morocco for like 3 weeks in like 2014. So I met Tom Cruise and Ving Rhames, and my scene was with Alec Baldwin. And then Tom Cruise came up to me and said, "Hi, man, I'm Tom." And I was like, "Yeah, I know. Like, why are you saying that?"
I'm
Like,
aware.
yeah, I'm aware, but yeah, I was in Mission Impossible 5, but got cut. And one day they'll release that footage. But no, Mission Impossible is a franchise I love, and the first one is so rewatchable. It's out of this world.
I think they never quite topped that De Palma film.
No, and I think, but
Fallout was the closest.
well, that was great. I actually didn't mind Ghost Protocol #4. I
Mm,
really didn't mind it. I
yeah,
also didn't mind 3. I thought Philip Seymour Hoffman was like, I didn't know where it was going to go because him
no.
as a villain, he was so unpredictable. But one is one, man. That's like, I wish I'd seen that. I wish I'd been old enough to watch that in the cinema. I really do. That film is so good, and it's so rewatchable.
If my memory serves, it's celebrating its anniversary in 2026.
It is, yes, because it's a 1996.
That might be right up my alley with my
Yes,
Spies
your
on
pod.
Screen series. No, 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 just in terms of a screening and perhaps getting a
Oh
guest.
yeah,
So that's a nice
that's it.
idea.
Yeah, definitely do that. That film is it holds up, man. It holds up. I mean, some of the techno jargon in it, some of the techno stuff doesn't kind of hold up a little bit, like all the modem stuff and him being able to just type in um go on certain websites
Just
and it's
just
like,
Hacker Man style. He's just like, I know the internet. I've got this, and
yeah.
yeah, okay,
But
buddy.
that said, it's so good. It's such a brilliant film.
You
Brilliant.
can't beat the Langley heist. You just
Come on, man. Come on. And just iconic shots like him trying to get the knock list and then Krieger trying to double cross him and then just that moment of the blade landing on the table and then getting the hell out of Dodge. It's just a wicked film. Wicked
I
film.
I don't think people are going to complain with Day of the Jackal or 1996's Mission Impossible. Two
Yeah.
excellent picks from a very excellent man.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank
MG,
you
it's
very much.
been an absolute pleasure. I firmly recommend everyone checks out Black Ops Season 2, and I don't just say that because you're here. I enjoyed the first two episodes. I'm looking forward to seeing the rest.
You're very sweet. Thank you so much, man. No, seriously, thank you for your time. I do have a habit of like, I like talking, particularly about things that I like and care about. So I, I I'm a fan first of everything. But I love you guys' podcast. I think it's great. And I think what you're doing in the Bond space is really great. And you're great ambassadors for this franchise that we all love.
Never apologize because it's my show and it can go as long as I want it to. So that's perfectly fine. I mean what I say. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show, sir. Thank you, and I hope to see you soon.
Absolutely. God bless. Thank you so much.